Most people do not think of doom scrolling as a serious problem. It looks small, harmless even. You pick up your phone for a minute, check one thing, and somehow 20 minutes disappear. Then you do it again later, and again at night, and after a while, it just becomes part of the rhythm of your day. That is what makes it dangerous, because doom scrolling rarely feels dramatic while it is happening. It feels normal. It feels like staying informed, passing time, or giving your mind a break. But in reality, it often does the opposite. It leaves you more restless, more distracted, more mentally crowded than you were before. And the effect builds quietly. Your attention gets weaker, your thoughts get noisier, your mood becomes more unstable. You feel overstimulated, but you still reach for the same thing that is overstimulating you. That is when it stops being a habit you have and starts becoming a pattern that shapes your mind. Doom scrolling is not just spending too much time on your phone. It is the habit of feeding your mind an endless stream of stimulation without giving it time to settle, process, or recover. And the content itself matters less than most people think. It can be bad news, it can be outrage, it can be commentary, arguments, trends, gossip, self-improvement clips, or endless updates about things you cannot control. The common factor is not just negativity, it is the constant pull on your attention. The mind gets drawn from one stimulus to the next before it has even finished with the last one. That creates a strange mental state. You are taking in more and more input, but becoming less clear. You are consuming more information, but becoming less grounded. You feel mentally busy, but not mentally strong. That is why doom scrolling is so deceptive. It gives the feeling of engagement without the benefits of reflection. It gives the feeling of staying connected without actually making you more stable, more thoughtful, or more informed in any meaningful way. It often just keeps your nervous system activated. And once that becomes normal, stillness starts feeling uncomfortable. For a lot of people, doom scrolling is not really about information. It is about regulation. It becomes something you reach for when you feel bored, uncertain, anxious, lonely, tired, or mentally unstructured. The phone offers immediate movement, immediate novelty, immediate escape from whatever state you were in a second ago. That is powerful, because modern life leaves a lot of people mentally fragmented. Their attention is already tired. Their inner world already feels noisy. And when a person does not know how to sit with that discomfort, the easiest thing to do is open a feed and disappear into motion. The problem is that the motion does not calm the mind, it just distracts it briefly. Then the person comes back more scattered than before. Over time, the brain starts learning this pattern. Discomfort appears, stimulation follows, silence appears, stimulation follows, a free moment appears, stimulation follows. That repetition creates dependence, not necessarily in a dramatic sense, but in the sense that the mind loses its ability to remain with itself without reaching outward for relief. That is why doom scrolling becomes hard to stop. It is no longer just entertainment. It becomes the default response to inner friction. The first thing doom scrolling takes from you is attention. Your mind becomes used to switching constantly. One clip, one headline, one image, one reaction, one more update. The pace trains you to expect stimulation every few seconds. Then, when you need to focus on one thing for more than a minute, your attention feels weak and impatient. But the deeper cost is what it does to your inner state. Doom scrolling leaves behind residue. Even after you put the phone down, your mind is still full of fragments. Opinions, images, fears, comparisons, unfinished thoughts. None of it has been fully processed, but all of it is still there. That makes it harder to think clearly. It also affects your mood. You may not notice it immediately, but after too much scrolling, many people feel slightly agitated, numb, discouraged, or mentally heavy, not because one piece of content changed them, but because their nervous system was never given space to return to baseline. That constant disruption changes the quality of your days. You become less present, less patient, less able to stay with one task, one thought, or one moment. And gradually, your own mind starts feeling like a place where you cannot rest for very long. That is a serious loss, because once attention becomes unstable, almost everything becomes harder. Most people try to fix doom scrolling with discipline alone. They tell themselves they just need more self control. They need to stop being lazy or get off the phone more. Sometimes that helps for a day or two, but it usually does not solve the real issue. Because doom scrolling is not only a time problem, it is an attention problem, a nervous system problem, and often an emotional regulation problem. If a person keeps treating the phone as their default response to discomfort, they will keep going back to it. That is why the real shift is not simply using the phone less, it is understanding what the scrolling is doing for you. Is it filling silence? Is it helping you avoid your thoughts? Is it giving you stimulation when your life feels flat? Is it distracting you from anxiety, loneliness, or uncertainty? Until that part becomes clear, the habit usually stays stronger than the intention to stop. The goal is not to turn your phone into the enemy. The goal is to stop using constant stimulation as a replacement for inner stability. Because if you do not build a better relationship with silence, boredom, and stillness, your mind will keep running back to noise. The first thing that helps is noticing the moment before the scrolling starts. Usually there is a trigger, a small drop in energy, a difficult emotion, a free moment, a bit of discomfort. Most habits become easier to change when you catch the beginning instead of only regretting the end. Once you notice that moment, it helps to ask a simple question. What am I reaching for right now? Not what app, not what content. What feeling am I trying to create, escape, or avoid? That question brings honesty into the pattern. The next step is to make the gap between impulse and action a little wider. Put the phone down for a minute. Stand up, walk, breathe, look out of a window. Let your mind feel the discomfort it was trying to run from. That matters more than people think. Because every time you interrupt the automatic reach for stimulation, you remind the mind that it does not need movement every second to remain okay. From there, it helps to replace endless scrolling with something more deliberate. Read one article instead of 20 clips. Watch one long video instead of constant fragments. Go outside without your phone. Sit with one thought long enough for it to become clear. The goal is not perfection. The goal is to rebuild the mind's tolerance for stillness, depth, and attention. That is where clarity starts returning. Doom scrolling destroys the mind in a quiet way. Not by one dramatic collapse, but by gradually weakening attention, stability, and inner silence. It fills the mind with more than it can hold, and then leaves people wondering why they feel so scattered all the time. That is why the answer is not just scroll less. The deeper answer is to stop treating constant stimulation as something harmless. Your mind is shaped by what you repeatedly expose it to. If you keep feeding it speed, noise, outrage, and fragmentation, it will eventually begin to reflect those qualities back to you. But the opposite is also true. If you protect your attention, reduce unnecessary input, and stop reaching for distraction every time discomfort appears, the mind begins to settle again. And once it settles, you start getting something back that doom scrolling quietly stole from you. Clarity. Remind, your mind becomes clear again the moment you stop feeding it what keeps it weak. Stay grounded.